Across the wild edges of our planet, in lands where the sun scorches, where the ice never melts, and where the air grows too thin to breathe, life still finds a way to rise. Some birds have learned to master the impossible, to endure heat that burns the earth, cold that freezes oceans, and storms that circle the globe. They are wanderers, survivors, and symbols of nature's unbreakable will. From blazing deserts to frozen tundras, from mountain peaks that touch the sky to the endless blue of the open sea. These are the birds that survive where nothing else can. You ever met someone who just won't stop talking, even when it's 120 degrees outside? Well, meet the Cactus Wren. This little desert loudmouth doesn't care if the ground's melting or the air feels like an oven. It sings anyway, a rough, scratchy song that bounces off the rocks like it owns the place. Most birds would be desperate for a sip of water out here. Not the Cactus Wren. This tiny survivor never drinks, ever. It gets every drop of moisture it needs from the bugs it eats. Beetles, spiders, even grasshoppers. It's like turning snacks into bottled water. Weird? Sure, but out here, it's either that or evaporate. Now here's the part that makes you go, no way. It builds its home inside giant cactus plants. Tall, spiny towers armed with thousands of needles. You'd think that's a terrible idea, but not if you're a cactus wren. Those spikes, they're the perfect home security system. No snake, no coyote, no curious desert creature dares to mess with that. It's like living in a fortress made of pain. And the design, oh, it's genius. Each nest has a narrow tunnel entrance that leads into a soft, cozy chamber inside. Cool in the day, warm at night, a natural air conditioner built from cactus twigs. Who needs a real estate agent when nature's this clever? Would you rather live inside a cactus or spend your life searching for a puddle that never comes? Yeah, think about that. The cactus wren's body is a masterpiece of desert engineering. Its feathers reflect sunlight, keeping it from overheating. Its kidneys recycle every molecule of water like a living filtration plant. Even its behavior is tactical. It forages early in the morning, when the world's still cool enough to breathe. And let's not forget the attitude. This bird is loud for a reason. It uses its raspy calls to tell rivals, back off, this cactus is mine. It's bold, territorial, and completely unapologetic about it. So what do you think? Is the cactus wren tough or just full of personality? Maybe both. But in a world where even the air feels angry, being loud might just be the smartest way to survive. If the cactus wren is the loudmouth of the desert, then the greater Roadrunner is the daredevil. You've seen it in cartoons, zipping past a coyote with that smug little beep beep. But here's the twist. This bird is real, and it's even crazier than the cartoon. The greater Roadrunner doesn't just run fast. It's a sprinting machine. Clocking in at over 20 miles per hour, it can literally outrun rattlesnakes. Yeah, snakes. While other birds fly away, the Roadrunner just looks at danger and says, nah, I got legs for this. It hunts in the kind of heat that melts tires. 50 degrees Celsius, the kind of temperature where even shadows need a break. Yet this bird's out there chasing lizards, insects, and yes, venomous snakes. It dances around them, strikes fast, and smacks the snake's head against the ground until dinner is served. Savage? Maybe. Efficient? Absolutely. Now here's the part that makes you laugh. Roadrunners are also thieves. They'll sneak into other birds' nests to grab eggs or chicks if the opportunity's right. No shame, no guilt, just pure survival instinct. It's like the desert's version of a bandit with feathers. Their bodies are built for the heat, long legs for speed, zygodactyl feet for traction, and feathers that work like thermal armor. When the sun gets brutal, they lower their body temperature by opening their wings to release heat. And at night, when the desert turns freezing, they slow their metabolism, conserving energy like a living battery. Here's a fun one. Roadrunners are known to team up. Two birds will coordinate to take down prey larger than either of them could handle alone. Talk about desert teamwork. Who needs Wi-Fi when your hunting buddy gets you dinner? But let's get real. This bird isn't just tough, it's got attitude. It struts across the sand with that chest-out confidence like it's saying, this is my desert, pal. So tell me this, is the greater Roadrunner a fearless hero of the desert or a cocky troublemaker with great PR? Maybe that's the secret to survival out here. Not just speed, but style. Now, if the greater Roadrunner is the desert's show-off sprinter, then the Hoopoe lark is its poet. Picture this, a tiny bird standing on blazing sand that could fry an egg, and instead of hiding, it sings. Yeah, right there, in the middle of the day, under the cruelest sun on Earth. Why? Because apparently stage presence matters, even in the Sahara. The Hoopoe lark doesn't just live in the desert, it performs in it. When the temperature hits 45, maybe 50 degrees Celsius, this bird lifts its wings and lets out a melody that floats over the dunes. a high, fluttering song that sounds almost hopeful. Almost. If you've ever tried walking barefoot on hot sand, you'd know that kind of optimism deserves an award. But here's where things get wild. The Hoopoe lark has its own air conditioning system. It digs into the sand, sometimes 15 centimeters deep, to reach cooler layers where it can rest, hide eggs, or just take a break from the oven above. It's like nature handed it a tiny shovel and said, "Good luck, kid." And check this out. The color of its feathers isn't just pretty. They're pale, sandy, almost reflective, bouncing sunlight away like a built-in sunscreen. That's not fashion. That's physics. Even the soles of its feet are thick and heat-proof, so while everything else in the desert is sizzling, the Hoopoe lark just keeps strutting. Now think about it. This bird could stay quiet, survive quietly like so many others. But no, it sings. It sings in the hottest part of the day, as if to say, if I can make music here, what's your excuse? Fun fact, male Hoopoe larks even perform aerial dances while singing, spiraling up, hovering, then diving down in graceful loops. It's part courtship, part celebration, part look at me, I'm still alive. Romance in the desert, who knew? So here's the question. Is the Hoopoe lark brave or just showing off for love? Maybe both. Because when you can turn heat and silence into music, you're not just surviving, you're living art in motion. If the Hoopoe lark is the poet of the desert, then the red-billed Quelea is the troublemaker. And not just any troublemaker. We're talking millions of tiny, chaotic, unstoppable ones. Imagine the sky turning red, fluttering, and loud enough to drown out your thoughts. That's not a storm. That's Quelea season. They're small, sure, barely the size of your thumb. But when they move together. Tens of millions of them. They darken the sky over Africa's dry plains like a living cloud of noise and motion. Farmers call them feathered locusts. Cute name, right? Until they eat half your crop field before lunch. These birds thrive where almost nothing else can. Dry savannas, dusty scrublands, blistering sun, all home to them. They don't wait for comfort. They wait for opportunity. When the rains come, grass seeds sprout, and suddenly it's party time. The Queleas explode into a breeding frenzy. In a matter of weeks, they build massive colonies. Tens of thousands of nests clumped together in thorn trees. It's like a bird version of Vegas. Loud, crowded, and nobody sleeping. Now here's a wild fact. A single flock can eat up to 50 tons of grain in one day. 50 tons. That's not a typo. That's an apocalypse with feathers. And yet, you kind of have to admire them. They're not destroying things out of malice. They're just doing what they do best, surviving through teamwork and numbers. Their bodies are designed for efficiency. Small and aerodynamic, they conserve energy while flying long distances in scorching heat. And their social coordination, unbelievable. Each bird reacts in milliseconds to the others around it. So when a hawk attacks, the whole flock swirls like a single organism, a living, breathing storm of wings. Now here's a question for you. Is the red-billed Quelea nature's greatest success story or its biggest mistake? Because honestly, when survival looks this chaotic, it's hard to tell the difference. Still, you have to give it credit. In a world where drought kills almost everything else, these tiny birds paint the sky red. And somehow, against all odds, they turn destruction into proof of life. Now we leave the dust and heat behind and step into a world made of ice. A place so cold your breath freezes midair, where the sun disappears for months and survival depends on more than strength. It takes loyalty, teamwork, and a serious layer of blubber. Welcome to Antarctica, home of the emperor penguin, the most devoted parent in the coldest place on Earth. Let's get one thing straight. This bird doesn't just survive winter, it owns it. While most animals flee when the blizzards hit, the emperor penguin walks straight into the storm. It travels up to 100 kilometers inland, across ice and wind, to reach ancient breeding grounds passed down for generations. Romantic? Maybe. Freezing? Definitely. When the female lays her single egg, she carefully passes it to her mate. Then she leaves, not to bail, but to eat. Someone's got to restock the energy tank. The male stays behind, balancing that egg on his feet, covering it with a flap of warm skin called a brood pouch, and he stands there. For 2 whole months, no food, no break. Just a wall of penguins huddled together, surviving blizzards that drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius. It's like nature's most extreme dad's club. Here's a fun fact. Those huddles aren't random. They rotate just like a human crowd passing a heater around. Each penguin takes a turn on the outside, then slowly moves back into the warm center. Perfect teamwork. No penguin left frozen. When the chicks finally hatch, mom returns from the sea, belly full of fish, ready to feed the family. It's a perfect relay of survival. One hunts, one protects, both endure. But here's a thought. Why stay in a place that wants you dead 6 months a year? Maybe because it's the one place too harsh for predators. Or maybe, just maybe, because the emperor penguin's entire story is proof that love and endurance can outlast even the coldest night. So tell me, is this bird the toughest parent on the planet, or just the most stubborn romantic in history? Either way, it's hard not to respect a creature that finds warmth where everything else freezes. From the penguin's frozen colony, we move north, way north, to a land where the sun refuses to set in summer and disappears completely in winter. It's quiet here, except for the wind, and the gaze of one very serious bird. Meet the snowy owl, the Arctic's silent hunter, and possibly the fluffiest assassin you'll ever meet. Now don't let that cute, plush look fool you. This owl is a top predator, built like a feathered tank with talons sharp enough to cut through a snowstorm. It hunts in open tundra, scanning endless white for movement. And when it spots a lemming, it doesn't hesitate. Boom, dive, gone, dinner served. Here's the part that blows minds. A single snowy owl can eat more than 1,500 lemmings in a single year. That's not hunting for sport, that's pest control with wings. And when lemmings are scarce, they switch to ducks, hares, or even other birds. Basically, if it moves, it's fair game. But there's another side to this frosty warrior. Snowy owls are fiercely devoted parents. The female guards her nest, just a shallow scrape in the snow, while the male brings food like an icy delivery service. And yes, he defends his family like an Arctic knight. Foxes, gulls, even wolves think twice before getting close. Still, life up here isn't easy. When food runs out, snowy owls move south, sometimes hundreds, even thousands of miles. One year you might see them in Alaska, the next they're chilling in a New York cornfield, looking utterly unimpressed with civilization. Fun fact, these birds can actually change their hunting schedule. When it's summer and daylight never ends, they hunt during the day. When winter brings darkness, they switch to night vision mode. No sleep schedule? No problem. So here's the riddle. Is the snowy owl peaceful or terrifying? It sits there, motionless, like a statue carved from ice, and yet everything nearby knows not to move a muscle. Maybe that's the power of quiet confidence. In a world where survival often means noise and chaos, the snowy owl proves that sometimes the deadliest thing in the Arctic is the silence. Deep in the frozen tundra, where snow covers everything for most of the year, you might think nothing could possibly blend in. But that's exactly what the rock ptarmigan does best. It doesn't just survive in the snow, it becomes the snow. This bird is basically the Arctic's master of disguise. In summer, it wears soft brown feathers that match the rocky ground. Then, when winter comes and the world turns white, its entire wardrobe changes. Fluffy, pure white plumage from head to toe. Even its feet get covered in feathery snow boots, perfect for walking on ice without sinking in. Move over, Fashion Week. This is survival couture. What's wild is how calm this bird seems while everything else is panicking. Blizzards, freezing winds, zero visibility. The rock ptarmigan just fluffs up and sits tight. It's like the definition of keep calm and carry on. That thick winter coat traps heat so well it can actually nap in a snowbank without freezing solid. Imagine falling asleep during a snowstorm and waking up perfectly fine. Yeah, this bird does that. Now here's a fun bit of trivia. When danger comes, the rock ptarmigan doesn't always fly away. Sometimes it just freezes in place, completely still, counting on its camouflage to do the talking. And honestly, it works. Predators walk right past, never realizing lunch is 2 feet away. But there's more to this quiet survivor than its color-changing magic. During spring, the males drop the white coat and show off chestnut brown plumage. And they start getting loud. Their call? Let's just say, it's not exactly beautiful. It sounds a bit like a sneeze mixed with a hiccup, but it gets the job done. Because in the Arctic dating scene, confidence beats pitch every time. The rock ptarmigan might not soar high like an eagle or run fast like a roadrunner, but it has mastered something far rarer, the art of stillness. It doesn't fight the cold or the snow. It simply adapts and disappears into it. So what do you think? Is that cowardice or genius? Because sometimes in nature, the best way to survive is to not be seen at all. If the rock ptarmigan is the Arctic's master of disguise, then the willow ptarmigan is its cheerful neighbor. A little round bird that looks like it's always wearing a puffy winter jacket and never quite got the memo about how harsh the world can be. You'll find it where the trees begin to fade into tundra, right at that line between forest and frozen wasteland. It's a place too cold for comfort, but the willow ptarmigan seems perfectly content, fluffing its feathers, chatting with its mates, and munching on twigs like they're gourmet snacks. Here's something charming. When most birds abandon the Arctic for warmer vacations, the willow ptarmigan sticks around. It doesn't migrate, it doesn't flinch, it just digs a cozy little tunnel in the snow and waits out the storm. While we're out here complaining about the weather, this bird's basically building a snow fort and calling it home. Its feathers change with the seasons too, turning pure white in winter and warm brown in summer. But unlike its cousin, the rock ptarmigan, the willow ptarmigan keeps a bit of color on its tail. A reminder, maybe, that even camouflage can have style. Now here's the part that really wins people over. They're incredibly social. You'll often see them in pairs or small flocks, calling to each other with a sound that's, well, kind of hilarious. It's a mix between a chuckle and a hiccup, like the bird is laughing at its own jokes. And honestly, who wouldn't if you'd mastered Arctic survival with that much charm? Scientifically, they've got it all figured out. Feathered feet act as snowshoes. A diet of buds and willow shoots provides just enough nutrients to last through endless winters. And those burrows under the snow, they can trap warmth so well, the inside can be 30 degrees warmer than the air outside. That's not just survival, that's insulation innovation. So here's a thought. Maybe the willow ptarmigan isn't just lucky. Maybe it's proof that you don't have to be fierce to thrive. You can be fluffy, friendly, and a little ridiculous, and still make it through the storm. What do you think? Is it the Arctic's comedian or its quiet genius? Either way, the willow ptarmigan proves that sometimes warmth isn't about temperature, it's about attitude. Some birds chase the sun. The Iceland gull, it chases the cold. While others flee south when winter hits, this bird flies straight into the frost, like it heard iceberg ahead and thought, perfect vacation spot. You'll find the Iceland gull gliding through Arctic skies, circling over glaciers and frozen seas with that calm, effortless grace that makes you forget it's literally flying through a freezer. Its pale feathers blend into the ice and fog so perfectly that half the time it looks like a ghost drifting above the waves. Spooky? Maybe. Elegant? Definitely. Here's the crazy part. This bird lives off what the ocean throws its way. It scavenges scraps from the waves, follows fishing boats for leftovers, and even snatches bits of food from other seabirds mid-flight. Not glamorous, sure, but very effective. If you can handle Arctic winds and steal lunch from a puffin, you've earned your place in the Survival Hall of Fame. But the Iceland gull isn't just tough, it's smart. It knows the ocean never freezes completely, so it follows the shifting ice, staying close to open water where food hides. It's like living in a moving neighborhood, where every iceberg is a new address. And get this, these gulls don't build fancy nests on beaches or trees. They raise their chicks on rocky cliffs battered by wind and waves. Imagine growing up on a ledge over the Arctic Ocean, your first flight lesson happening above a storm. Talk about learning the hard way. They're also surprisingly social. Hundreds of Iceland gulls gather along the icy coastlines, squawking, squabbling, and sharing space like a chaotic family reunion. It's loud, messy, and weirdly comforting. Proof that even in the coldest corners of the world, life still finds ways to connect. So here's a question. Is the Iceland gull brave for loving the cold, or just allergic to comfort? Maybe both, because sometimes survival isn't about running from hardship. It's about learning to fly straight through it. And if you ever see a pale shadow gliding across the frozen sea, don't be surprised. That's not a ghost. It's just the Iceland gull doing what it does best, turning ice and emptiness into home. If there were a prize for most frequent flyer in the animal kingdom, the Arctic Tern would win it every single year. This little white bird is basically nature's version of a travel influencer, logging more miles annually than most of us will in a lifetime. Here's the headline. It migrates from the Arctic all the way to Antarctica and then back again. That's about 40,000 miles every year, roughly the distance of circling the planet 1.5 times. No plane, no passport, no frequent flyer miles, just wings, wind, and pure determination. Now let that sink in. When most birds escape winter by heading south, the Arctic Tern says, nah, I'll just chase summer forever. It literally lives in sunlight. Arctic summer, then Antarctic summer. 2 summers, no winters. If that's not genius, what is? But make no mistake, this isn't a lazy cruise. The journey takes months through storms, oceans, predators, and exhaustion. Scientists once tagged a few and found out these birds can travel over 1 million miles in their lifetime. 1 million. That's like flying to the moon and back, twice. All for fish, freedom, and a nice ocean view. Here's a fun twist. They don't fly in a straight line. They zigzag using ocean winds to glide efficiently, turning what should be a brutal trip into an elegant, aerodynamic dance. Talk about eco-friendly travel. Zero emissions, full adventure. They're also lifelong romantics. Arctic terns mate for life, and when breeding season comes, they return thousands of miles to the exact patch of tundra where they were born. It's like GPS powered by instinct and love. Their chicks hatch under the midnight sun, in a world of endless daylight and gentle breezes before the parents pack up and do it all again next year. Because why stop moving when the whole planet is your backyard? So here's the question. Is the Arctic Tern the ultimate symbol of freedom, or just a restless wanderer who can't sit still? Maybe it's both, because in a world full of limits, this tiny bird reminds us that home doesn't have to be one place. It can be everywhere the light touches. If you think you get out of breath walking upstairs, wait until you hear about the bar-headed goose, the bird that literally flies over the Himalayas. Yeah, that's right. While we humans huff and puff climbing a few thousand feet, this bird is cruising at 29,000 feet, the same height as a jet plane over Mount Everest. Now picture this: thin air, freezing winds, and barely any oxygen. Most animals wouldn't last a minute, but the bar-headed goose just keeps flapping, as if gravity's taking a personal day. It's like watching a marathon runner casually jog through outer space. Scientists have been obsessed with this bird for years. How does it breathe up there? Turns out its lungs and blood are like biological superchargers. Its hemoglobin holds onto oxygen way better than ours, and its heart pumps with incredible efficiency. Basically, a built-in turbo system for survival. Meanwhile, we're here, gasping on a treadmill. What's even crazier is when they do it. These geese migrate at night using moonlight and wind currents to guide them through freezing darkness. No oxygen mask, no autopilot, just instinct and insane endurance. Each year, they travel from India's warm plains to the cool lakes of Tibet, crossing some of the harshest terrain on Earth. That's not migration, that's an expedition. And get this, they don't even take the easy route. Instead of going around the Himalayas, they go right over the top. Why? Because it's shorter. Talk about efficiency over comfort. Here's a fun fact. To handle the cold, their body temperature drops slightly during flight, so they burn oxygen slower, a natural way to prevent overheating in thin air. Imagine lowering your metabolism mid-jog just to keep going. That's next-level endurance. But here's the real question. Why do it at all? Why push limits no other bird dares to cross? Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it's pride. Or maybe, like every true explorer, the bar-headed goose just wants to see what's on the other side of the sky. So next time you look up at the mountains and think, that's impossible, remember this little goose, quietly soaring where even eagles struggle to breathe. If the bar-headed goose is the athlete of the skies, then the Andean condor is the elder statesman, the wise old giant who doesn't rush for anything, because when your wings stretch almost 10 feet across, you don't need to hurry. This bird doesn't fly, it glides, and not for minutes, for hours. Scientists once tracked a condor that soared for 5 straight hours without flapping its wings even once. 5 hours. It just rides the wind like it owns the Andes. And honestly, it kind of does. Living high in the South American mountains, the Andean condor sees the world from where the clouds are born. It feeds mostly on carcasses. Yeah, nature's cleanup crew. But before you judge, remember, someone's got to do it. By eating what's already dead, it prevents disease from spreading. So in a weird way, this majestic giant is also the continent's most elegant janitor. Now here's the fun twist. Condors don't hunt, but they're still terrifying. They'll spot a carcass from miles away, circle gracefully overhead, and descend like royalty arriving at a banquet. Other scavengers, foxes, vultures, even mountain lions, often back off. Because when the condor lands, the mountain just seems to get quieter. These birds are built for altitude. Huge wings to catch rising air currents, lungs that can handle the thin oxygen of the Andes, and a bald head, not for fashion, but because, well, eating carrion with feathers on your face would get messy. Practicality over looks every time. And here's something poetic. The Andean condor mates for life. They can live over 70 years and often return to the same cliffs where they first learned to fly. There's something timeless about that. Like the mountains themselves are watching them grow old together. So what do you think? Is the Andean condor majestic or just lazy with great marketing? Maybe both. Because when you can glide for hours, live for decades, and rule the skies without ever flapping your wings, that's not laziness, that's mastery. Some say when a condor spreads its wings, it's like the spirit of the Andes taking flight. And honestly, that's not a bad way to be remembered. High above the clouds where oxygen is scarce and the wind never rests, there's a bird so massive and mysterious it looks like a creature from a myth. Meet the Himalayan griffon, the vulture that calls the rooftop of the world home. This isn't your average scavenger. With a wingspan stretching over 10 feet, the Himalayan griffon drifts along the ridges of the Himalayas, circling the sky like a slow-moving shadow. It doesn't waste energy. It owns the air. When you live at 5,000 meters, every flap counts. So it lets the mountains lift it instead. Now here's something that'll make you pause. While we struggle to breathe at that altitude, this bird makes it look effortless. Its lungs and blood are fine-tuned to the thin, icy air, and its wings catch every whisper of updraft from the valley below. It's not just flying, it's balancing between earth and heaven. And yes, it's a vulture, meaning it feeds on what others leave behind. But don't roll your eyes yet. Out here, nothing goes to waste. When snow buries the land and food disappears, the griffin's job is sacred, to return life to the cycle. It cleans the mountains, silently keeping balance. Not glamorous, but deeply essential. Here's a fun fact that sounds like folklore. In Tibetan culture, the griffin is seen as a messenger between worlds. During sky burials, these birds consume the bodies of the departed, releasing their spirit back to nature. To outsiders, it may seem grim, but to the people who live here, it's an act of reverence, a final flight. And if you think that's heavy, remember this bird can glide for hours without landing, its sharp eyes scanning miles of cliffs and valleys. It doesn't chase storms, it becomes one. So what do you think? Is the Himalayan griffin a scavenger, a saint, or something in between? Because up here, above the clouds, labels don't mean much. Survival, beauty, and death all blur together. And somewhere in that thin, cold air, the griffin soars, a giant silhouette etched against the snow, reminding us that even the harshest heights belong to something alive. Welcome to the roof of the world, the Tibetan Plateau. The air here is thin, the wind is cruel, and the landscape looks like it forgot what trees even are. It's the kind of place where most birds would say, yeah, no thanks, but not the Tibetan snowcock. This round, gray little bird looked at the Himalayas and said, perfect, I'll move in. It's not flashy, no bright feathers, no dramatic flight patterns. At first glance, it just looks like a rock with legs. And honestly, that's the point. Camouflage is life up here. When golden eagles circle above, the snowcock freezes, a still speck of gray among a sea of stone. And just like that, it vanishes. But don't let its calm fool you. The Tibetan snowcock is tougher than it looks. It spends its entire life at elevations where most animals can't even breathe. Its lungs and heart are built to handle oxygen levels that would make a human dizzy in minutes. It walks miles across slopes, searching for seeds, roots, and alpine herbs. And when winter hits, it digs into the snow for shelter. No drama, no panic, just quiet endurance. Here's something heartwarming. These birds live in tight family groups. They mate for life and raise their chicks together, teaching them how to read the wind and dodge predators. And when danger comes, one adult will call out, drawing attention while the others sneak the chicks to safety. That's bravery in feathers. Fun fact, Tibetan snowcocks are early risers. Like, way early. Their call, a series of loud whistling notes, echoes through the valleys before sunrise. It's basically the Himalayan version of an alarm clock. Locals say the mountains feel empty when you don't hear that sound in the morning. Still, you have to wonder, why choose to live here, where life is so thin and fragile? Maybe it's because peace lives in the places no one else dares to go. Maybe the snowcock knows that beauty isn't always in color or song. Sometimes it's in the silence between the winds. So tell me, is the Tibetan snowcock a symbol of stubborn endurance or quiet wisdom? Either way, it's proof that even in the loneliest places on Earth, life still hums softly and keeps going. If mountain climbing were an Olympic sport for birds, the Alpine Chough would be your gold medalist, and probably your favorite climbing buddy too. This jet black bird with a yellow beak and red legs isn't afraid of heights. In fact, it loves them. You'll find it swooping and diving around Europe's highest peaks, laughing at gravity while we humans gasp for air halfway up the trail. These birds live where few things do, on sheer cliffs and rocky ledges above 10,000 feet, where the air's thin, the wind bites, and even the clouds look tired. But for the Alpine Chough, that's paradise. They use updrafts like invisible elevators, soaring effortlessly over glaciers and summits. It's not flying, it's mountain surfing. And here's the part that makes people smile. They're ridiculously social. You can spot flocks of dozens swirling together, chattering midair like a group of friends who can't stop talking. They've even learned to hang around ski resorts, snatching fries or sandwich crumbs from tourists. Yeah, these high-altitude daredevils have discovered the magic of free lunch. Scientifically, they're built for the altitude. Their lungs are super efficient, their wings narrow and strong, and their flight muscles packed with oxygen-rich blood. Even their brains seem wired for adventure. They love puzzles, experiments, and a good challenge. Some have been seen dropping nuts from cliffs just to crack them open on the rocks below. Work smarter, not harder. Now here's a fun twist. The Alpine Chough actually thrives near people. Climbers leave scraps, tourists drop food, and these birds? They've turned human mess into a reliable buffet. It's proof that adaptability isn't just about surviving nature. It's about reading the room. Still, there's something poetic about them. When storms roll in, They don't flee. They ride the wind like it's all part of the fun. Their black wings slice through the mist, bright beaks flashing like streaks of sunlight in a gray sky. So here's the thought. Are they fearless adventurers or just the clowns of the clouds? Maybe both. Because when life throws you to the edge of a cliff, the Alpine Chough says, "Cool, better view from here." After all the bold flyers and high-altitude daredevils, meet the artist of the mountains, the Wallcreeper. It doesn't soar like the Condor or race the wind like the Chough. Instead, it climbs, gracefully, patiently, like a tiny painter brushing color across the cliffs of the Alps. From a distance, you might not even notice it, just a small gray bird clinging to vertical rock faces thousands of feet up. But then, the wings open, and suddenly the dull gray explodes into brilliant flashes of crimson. It's like a rose blooming against stone. Quiet, unexpected, unforgettable. The Wallcreeper doesn't chase storms or hunt in packs. It moves alone, hopping and fluttering across cliffs in search of insects that hide in cracks where the wind never sleeps. Its long, curved bill is a perfect tool, a surgical instrument made from mountain crevices. Patience is its weapon, precision its art. And here's what makes it truly fascinating. While other birds migrate across continents, the Wallcreeper's migration is more of a vertical commute. When winter hits, it simply climbs down the mountains to warmer valleys and stone walls, sometimes even cathedrals and old castles. Imagine being a medieval church caretaker and realizing your wall has been hijacked by a bird that thinks it's a cliff. It's shy, elegant, and strangely poetic. Photographers wait hours just to catch a glimpse of its wings flaring in sunlight. That crimson flash feels like a secret, a reward for paying attention to the quiet things. Scientifically, it's a marvel of adaptation. Its flexible toes grip smooth rock like Velcro, and its feathers insulate it from icy winds that roar down from the peaks. But there's something beyond biology here, something almost human. It doesn't conquer the mountain, it collaborates with it. Step by step, wing by wing, it turns survival into choreography. So tell me, is the Wallcreeper just another mountain bird, or the Alps' most underrated artist? Because not all beauty screams for attention. Some of it just whispers, clinging quietly to the walls of the world, turning stone into art and silence into flight. From the peaks of the mountains to the edge of the world, where the sky touches the sea and the horizon never ends, sails the wandering albatross. If freedom had wings, they'd look like this. This bird isn't just big, it's legendary. With a wingspan stretching nearly 12 feet, the wandering albatross has the largest reach of any bird on Earth. When it opens those wings, it doesn't flap much, because it doesn't have to. It can glide for hours, even days, without beating once, just riding the ocean winds like a ghost ship of feathers and grace. Imagine spending your life out there. No land in sight, just endless waves and wind. For the albatross, that's home sweet home. It sleeps while gliding, feeds on squid and fish snatched from the rolling surface, and only returns to solid ground once every 2 years. Just long enough to find a mate, raise a chick, and then back to the wind again. Fun fact, albatross pairs mate for life. When they finally meet again, after years apart, they perform an elaborate dance, bobbing heads, tapping beaks, and spreading wings in perfect rhythm. It's awkward, romantic, and somehow dignified, like two old sailors reuniting after a long voyage. But here's the twist. For all their grace, albatrosses are clumsy on land. They waddle, trip, and flop their way around like giant toddlers in tuxedos, which just proves no one's perfect, not even nature's greatest traveler. They live for decades, some over 60 years, crossing oceans thousands of times, and with each journey they trace invisible paths in the sky, routes passed down through instinct, memory, and maybe something deeper. Now think about this. How many creatures get to see everything? Every sunrise from a different ocean, every storm from above the clouds. The wandering albatross does. And somehow, it always finds its way home. So what do you call that? Freedom or loneliness? Because spending a lifetime alone with the sea might sound isolating. But maybe for the albatross, it's exactly where peace lives. If the wandering albatross is the ocean's eternal traveler, then the northern royal albatross is its monarch, a regal sailor ruling the stormy seas of the Southern Ocean with calm, stubborn grace. Picture a bird with wings nearly 3 meters wide, cutting through freezing winds that would ground most aircraft. That's not just flying, that's defying gravity with style. The royal albatross doesn't fight the storm. It uses it, turning chaos into motion, surfing gusts that circle Antarctica like invisible racetracks. But here's where it earns its royal title. Unlike most seabirds, it actually prefers the worst weather. When the waves rise and the wind screams, that's when the royal albatross feels most at home. It's as if the sea's fury is its invitation to dance. Now romance among these giants? It's a long game. They mate for life, and life here means decades. After years apart, each pair meets again on the same remote island, recognizing one another by sight and sound before performing a courtship dance so awkward and slow you'd swear it was choreographed by penguins. Beak tapping, head bobbing, sky pointing. The whole show can last hours. But when they finally synchronize, it's like watching two masters reconnect after a lifetime at sea. Fun fact, they only breed once every 2 years. Why? Because raising a single chick is a marathon, not a sprint. Both parents take turns traveling thousands of miles to find food, then returning to feed the chick with fish oil and squid, the world's smelliest baby formula. It takes nearly a year before that chick finally takes its first flight, and once it does, it may not touch land again for 5 or 6 years. Think about that. Half a decade alone, learning to read the wind, to rest on storms, and to trust the endless blue. Then one day it comes back. Same island, same rock, same partner waiting. Tell me that's not loyalty at the edge of the world. So what do you think? Is the northern royal albatross brave or just beautifully stubborn? Because anyone who faces hurricanes with a calm stare and calls it just another day at sea has definitely earned its crown. If you ever wished you could nap while working, you're about to meet your spirit animal, the frigatebird. This sleek, black-winged pirate of the tropics has mastered the impossible. It can sleep while flying. Yes, seriously. Half its brain stays awake to steer, while the other half takes a power nap mid-air. Try doing that on your morning commute. The frigatebird lives almost its entire life in the sky. It can stay airborne for weeks, some for over 2 months without landing once. It eats, drinks, even courts other birds up there. If the ocean is a world of water, then the sky is this bird's private kingdom. Now here's the catch. It can't swim. It's a seabird that avoids the sea. Its feathers aren't waterproof, so if it lands on the water, it sinks like a rock. That's right. A bird that spends its life above the ocean, but never touches it. It's like owning a boat and being afraid of water. So how does it eat? Easy, it steals. Frigatebirds are famous for their sky-high piracy. They chase other seabirds, terns, boobies, even gulls, until the poor victim drops its freshly caught fish. Then the frigatebird swoops in and snatches it midair with surgical precision. It's the Robin Hood of the sky, except it keeps everything for itself. And if you've ever seen one up close, you'll remember it, especially the males. During breeding season, they inflate a giant red throat pouch, turning into what looks like a flying balloon with attitude. They drum it like a bass and show off to nearby females. Romance, but make it loud. Fun fact, their wings are so long and light that they barely expend energy when gliding. Some scientists say their flight efficiency makes modern aircraft look lazy. Still, you have to wonder, is the frigatebird a genius for never landing, or just a stubborn sky addict afraid of getting wet? Maybe both, because when you can ride the wind, steal your lunch, and nap in the clouds, why would you ever come down? After all the giants of wind and storm, let's meet someone smaller, the brown noddy. It doesn't have a 12-foot wingspan or the drama of a condor, but it's got something just as rare, peace. The brown noddy lives its whole life surrounded by blue, the endless Pacific, dotted with lonely islands and coral reefs. You'll find it perched calmly on bare volcanic rocks, a chocolate brown silhouette against the silver sea. No rush, no panic, just quiet confidence. In a world of chaos, this bird seems to know how to take a breath. It's not a flashy flyer. It glides low over the water, plucking small fish and squid from the waves with smooth precision. No diving, no crashing, no showing off. Just calm, practiced grace. And unlike the frigatebird, the brown noddy actually likes getting its feet wet. Imagine that. 2 neighbors, one sky, completely opposite personalities. But here's what makes it special. Trust. Noddies are famous for nesting in the most impossible places. Tiny, wave-beaten rocks in the middle of nowhere. No trees, no grass, just stone and sea spray. Yet somehow entire colonies thrive there. Hundreds of birds raising chicks together on cliffs barely wide enough to stand on. They rely on each other completely. Every wing beat, every call, every glance. Coordination in chaos. Fun fact, their name comes from their courtship ritual. When 2 brown noddies pair up, they literally nod at each other. Slow, gentle, rhythmic. It's like a calm, hey, you good, in bird language. Simple, honest, kind of adorable. And maybe that's what makes them unforgettable. They're not the strongest, fastest, or most dramatic, but they've found balance in the middle of the ocean. A rhythm between danger and serenity. So here's the thought. After traveling from desert heat to frozen poles, from the highest peaks to the deepest blue, maybe survival isn't always about power or speed. Maybe it's about harmony. Because the brown noddy proves one quiet truth. You don't have to conquer the world to belong to it. Sometimes you just have to float, nod, and trust the wind to take you home. 50 minutes ago, We began in the burning desert, where the sand cracked and shimmered with heat. We've crossed frozen wastelands, climbed through thin air, and sailed across endless seas. And through it all, one thing never changed. Life found a way to rise. From the tiny cactus wren singing in the fire of the sun, to the emperor penguin guarding life in the coldest storm, from geese flying higher than Everest, to albatrosses that never stop circling the earth. Each of these birds rewrote the rules of survival. They taught us that strength isn't just muscle or speed, it's patience, it's adaptation. It's showing up every day in a world that keeps trying to push you down and saying, I'm still here. Some endure through numbers, some through love, some through silence. But all of them share one secret. They don't fight nature. They become part of it. And maybe that's the lesson for us, too. We spend so much time trying to escape discomfort, chasing easy skies, soft landings, predictable weather. But these birds, they find beauty in extremes. They find peace in the storm. So as we leave their world behind, ask yourself, where's your edge of survival? What's your desert, your mountain, your sea? Because if these fragile creatures can turn the harshest corners of Earth into homes filled with life and song, then maybe we can too. In the end, it's not about where you fly, but how you rise, again and again, where nothing else can.